National Examination Overview. The National Interstate Council of State Boards of Cosmetology is a not-for-profit corporation comprised of each state regulatory entity and their administrative representatives. The mission of the council is to promote the protection, the health, safety, and welfare of the public and the professional workforce by actively pursuing excellence in cosmetology and its related fields. The scope of the National Practical Examination includes core domain services, and the core domain services are based on the National Job Analysis. What you see there is a flyer that we used, and we passed that flyer out to the licensees. We sent them out to states. We took them to trade shows and put them in some of our trade magazines and that sort of thing, asking everybody to come in and to do a survey. And from that survey, the barber exam was developed. And that's the way that we do many of our exams. And the people that fill this form out were already licensed and had to be licensed in order to take that survey. And it's a great way of obtaining information for our exam procedure. Now, NIC does offer a standardized, valid, and legally defensible national examination program. We adhere to best practices and recognize accreditation standards. The entire development process from the inception of the practice analysis to the reporting of a candidate's scores ensures that the examinations that NIC produce are reliable and valid tools for assessing minimum candidate competency. Each step in the process is a link in the validity chain, providing defensibility for the NIC examination program according to the cosmetology industry best practices, ANSI, and other globally accepted test development and administration guidelines. Now, NIC does believe in a solid commitment to maintain the high standards that are established in the cosmetology industry by licensed professionals. NIC believes that in most examination formats, a candidate could possibly achieve a passing score by simply learning and following the task lines that are listed in a candidate information bulletin known as a CIB. We believe services performed in this manner are not defensible in the licensure arena. Now, the NIC National Examination Program is being designed with the knowledge that there are as many ways to examine a skill as people there are to teach it. Our examinations are written based on the examining of a basic skill as the candidate learned it from their instructor and the manner they will perform the task on the general public. The candidate is responsible to perform these tasks while utilizing infection control procedures and maintaining a safe working environment. The movement in NIC national testing creates a practical examination in which a candidate is displaying a basic service scored according to their practical knowledge of how to perform a task and not harm themselves nor the general public. NIC promotes national endorsement and standardization of regulations that are affecting the practice of cosmetology and its related fields within all jurisdictions. Now, it is the responsibility of NIC and your state regulatory board to ensure that licensed professionals who practice on the general public will do so in a safe and sanitary manner. It is not to determine salon readiness or skill level. That's the job of the instructor and the schools. The tasks that are evaluated on the NIC National Practical Examinations are the tasks that are listed in the Candidate Information Bulletin, here again known as a CIB. Now, please visit your state in order to obtain a specific examination guideline, and that is barbercosmo@dca.ca.gov, and obtain your CIB. as well as any admission letters and inserts that need to be studied and are completed prior to scheduling your NIC national examination. The NIC official webpage has information and downloadable copies of the general CIB and NIC examination information. To better understand the examinations viewed in this presentation, I would encourage you to use the Candidate Information Bulletin from Barbara Cosmo at dca.ca.gov. Now, NIC examinations are administered in a testing environment. Your candidates are evaluated at all times, and candidates must follow all appropriate public protection and infection control procedures during all phases of the practical examinations. Cellular phones, watches, and all other electronic devices are absolutely not allowed anywhere inside the examination area. We're not looking to see if your watch is an Apple or a Timex or a Rolex. They're simply not allowed in the examination site. There should not be any printed or handwritten materials or any other type of visual aids, because those two are strictly prohibited from the testing arena for any reason. Certainly talking or any other means of communication between candidates will not be tolerated either. Now, here are some things that we don't allow in our exam site. That would include fumigates, any wet disinfecting jars, aerosols of any sort, including shaving cream or single fingers. And then recently we just added to that any spray disinfectants. Our disinfectants should be a wipe, a candidate, and we understand that there are shortages, but here again, if a candidate were to go and purchase maybe even baby wipes, bring those, download a label, maybe from Calvicide or Barbicide or some other reputable disinfecting company, attach that to that baby wipe, that would be an acceptable wipe for us. So we always encourage that if you can't find the real disinfecting wipes that are bactericidal, fungicidal, and virucidal. An issue that we have in some states are factory sealed monomers. And for that reason, we are now requiring that all monomers be sealed from the factory. We will be checking those. A factory seal would be one like you see in the top there that has a foil seal or a plastic seal attached to it. Or if you look at the middle drawing at the very bottom there, you see that one has, that particular cap has been shrunk wrapped. We would certainly allow that as well. Many times what we see are the ones on the right where they have a rubber stopper in there, and that is not considered a factory or manufactured seal. The drawing on the very bottom on the right-hand side is somebody who's taking a blow dryer and some plastic wrap and tried to do a seal that way, and that's certainly not acceptable either. Now, all products and containers are considered to be multi-use or backbore size, no matter what their size are. So products must be dispensed using infection control procedures, and all containers must be clearly labeled in English. The label must reflect the actual product that's being utilized for that portion of the examination. Manufacturers' labels may be used and must have English, but if a candidate creates their own label or makes a homemade label, it must contain only English. Some things that we oftentimes see in our exam site are the term PD. We think that this is probably product for a predisposition test. However, it should be actually labeled as color or tint, not PD. We also see containers that are numbered: cleanser 1, exfoliator 2, massage 3. Were your examiner to see this, this product would be taken from your candidate. It should only have cleanser, exfoliator, massage cream, massage oil, or massage lotion, but not have any numbers indicating the order in which that product is used. Also, we encourage candidates to label just products, not any supplies. Your examiners are smart folks. They've been in the business for years. They know what gloves are, paper towels, cotton balls, etc. Now, certainly germs are very scary right now, and we're having this because of the COVID-19. And we're really afraid of germs as well as viruses that are out there. Some things that we're seeing pretty often in our salons today are MRSA and VRSA. Candidates many times are working on a customer or a student is working on a customer in the salon, and MRSA certainly grows in the hair follicle, and they need to scratch their head and they don't sanitize their hands prior to doing that. And so we see a transfer of that MRSA from their client to themselves. The drawing you see in the middle there is a hand where a man has gotten a hair splint, and certainly we're always encouraging people to be very careful around hair like that, especially students who want to come to school and cut hair with sandals or flip-flops and that sort of thing. It's certainly a great way of picking up something like a hair splint. HPV warts are certainly on the rise. You even see advertisements about a vaccine for it because it has become so rampant. The drawing you see on your right is HSV of the eye, or herpes of the eye. A candidate went into a salon, or excuse me, a customer goes in the salon having herpes, has a bikini waxing. That cosmetologist or esthetician double dipped. Somebody else came in later for a waxing of the eye and transferred that particular virus to the new client while having an eye wax. So certainly there should be no double dipping of any sort. The Mycobacterium fortuitum, it was a bacterium that was found in foot spas. It certainly caused a decline in pedicures once it hit the local news and the national news. Now, original manufacturers are required in all disinfectants and hand sanitizers, and disinfectants must be EPA registered. And here you see the term hospital grade. The government has done away with that term, and so are we. We're going to be saying in all of our future exams that it needs to be an EPA registered disinfectant that is bactericidal, fungicidal, and virucidal. We will no longer allow sprays or aerosol disinfectants in our exam site. They must be wipes, as I addressed that earlier. Here are some names of names out there, but I'm not going to get into those either. So here you see a blood exposure kit, and then somebody has labeled a bag inside that first aid kit. Well, we no longer require that bag or those wrappers and the wipe to be put in a Ziploc bag. It can be just dropped into the trash. Here you see a caddy or a tray. A lot of nail techs want to utilize something like this in their exam. And a lot of times they don't want to bother to disinfect the tray or the caddy. Certainly that is not acceptable in our exam. This caddy is covered with canvas and couldn't be disinfected. But were it a disinfectable caddy or a tray or cart, whatever you want to call it, all that caddy and tray must be disinfected, and all the supplies used from client number 1 have to be disinfected before moving it into area number 2 for client number 2. Some things that we commonly see, this says to be discarded. Now I will tell you that Wayne and I like the trash bags that you're seeing a lot, but it should have we're looking for specific terms because these can be translated and are understood by most people. That one says to be discarded. We're not looking for that term. It should be identified just simply as trash. Here in the container you see on the front, it says soiled implements, but that is not what we're looking for either. It should be to be disinfected. And we like a bag for that as well because it can sit underneath the work area. I would encourage you in labeling these bags to label them on all 4 sides, to put a liner in them. We know that our barbers are using water, our cosmetologists are using water, our estheticians are using wet towels, and so it only makes sense to put a liner in all of those. I observed an exam where a cosmetologist had just completed wrapping for a perm, threw the bottle into a paper bag like you're seeing there, and it didn't have a liner. And soon water began to creep out onto the tile floor. So he created an unsafe work environment by simply not having a liner in there. So we encourage that. Here you see somebody who's tried to use a biohazard bag. We do not want biohazard bags in our exams, and we ask you to please don't send those. It is not a biohazardous situation. Here again, we don't allow sprays in our exam at all. Here you see somebody's attached a trash bag, and that was obviously or probably a nail technician. That happens often. I would advise not to do that. Here again, I like the paper bags that have a liner in there, that have trash to be disinfected and soiled linens. And I would put the label on all 4 sides, because those candidates have to push those bags out of the way. And if they don't know exactly what's in there, they're going to become confused and not know where to place any soiled implements, trash, or soiled linens. Here you see a diagram on the right-hand side where somebody's put down some plastic. That's certainly a hazard. They could certainly slide or become tangled in that, wind up getting hurt. Somebody going to the restroom, or even your examiner walking around. So we never encourage people to put anything down, particularly like that. Towels, nothing should go on the floor except your paper bags and the supply kit. So some main things that we're looking at in our exam are big things that we're looking at. The blood exposure procedure. Certainly we're happy to examine on blood exposure procedure. Very common for people in our industry to get cut, or to maybe using a file, they'll cut their customer if they're a nail tech. Estheticians are going to be possibly coming in contact with body fluid, that sort of thing. So we're glad that we're able to examine on the blood exposure procedure. Wayne will be talking to you in cosmetology about the new changes in our blood exposure procedure, and he'll go through those very thoroughly with you. Disposal of items. In our old exam, candidates would just grab everything at the end of the exam and throw it into a big bag of plastic bag and take it home and go through it and sort it. Well, we think it's important that a candidate know that an item can be disinfected, or that it's trash, or even that it's a soiled linen. So our exams are a 3-bag or 3-container. Here again, they should be labeled as trash, items to be disinfected, and soiled linens. Storage standards. Here we're talking about the kit. And I would tell you as an instructor or a school owner to tell that candidate that that's the kit, that's the drawer in the salon that has all the clean supplies, disinfected implements, and clean items that products that they're going to be utilizing. So anytime they go into that kit, they need to sanitize their hands, retrieve whatever they need, and then close that drawer. And the same thing with their kit. They need to sanitize their hands prior to going in there, retrieve whatever they need, and then close that storage container. Work area maintenance. I would encourage your candidates to look around occasionally, see if they've dropped something, if they've spilled something. We know that that happens a lot in our exams. But if they drop something, they have to stop whatever they're doing at that moment, pick up that item, dispose of it in the proper way, sanitize their hands, and go back to work. The same thing if they spill something. They have to stop, clean it up, dispose of the article that they used to wipe it up, sanitize their hands, and go back to work. The last thing we want is a candidate to fall, or an examiner to fall, or people going to the restroom to fall and slip on an orange wood stick, or perm paper, or neck strip, or anything. So they need to look around. They are responsible for their work area, and we encourage them to check it out often. And lastly, but certainly not most importantly, is infection control standards. Folks, we're looking at the same thing that you examine and that you teach every day. We're looking to see that that candidate sanitizes their hands. If they're working on somebody or on a client or their mannequin, their nose itches, they need to sanitize their hands before they scratch their nose. They then need to sanitize their hands before going back to working on that mannequin or that client. We're looking to see if they double dip. We're looking to see if they're touching the tips of containers. We don't want them touching tips of containers with their fingers, with their gloves, with anything. There are only 4 things that they can touch with, and that's their hand sanitizer, alcohol, polish remover, and acetone. Other than that, they're not allowed to touch the tips of any containers. Now, candidates are required to bring their own examination supply kit with a sufficient quantity of clean implements, supplies, and other materials that are needed to complete the examination. Now, the examination supply kit must be closed and stored under their work area. Candidates may re-enter that kit at any time during the examination in order to remove any necessary materials. They just need to sanitize their hands, go in and get that item that they need and close that kit. The supply kit is considered a storage area during the examination and therefore part of the work area. Anything removed from the examination kit must be disposed of following infection control procedures, and nothing, folks, absolutely nothing may be returned to the kit. Candidates must supply their own source of water that they need for the examination, and candidates are responsible for cleaning up the examination area and removing all supplies that they've used when they exit the examination site. Candidates are given a minimum of 10 minutes in order to set up the universal or general supplies that they will use throughout the examination. Candidates will be instructed when to clean up and to prepare for the remaining sections of the examination. The verbal instructions will be read twice for each section of the examination, and candidates are expected to continue to demonstrate all the tasks in a section until such time as they have completed that section or the time has expired. The candidate will be instructed to step back or turn the hand toward the examiner to indicate that they have completed the section of the examination. Candidates should perform all the tasks in the manner in which they were taught. Here again, candidates are responsible for maintaining their work area and in a safe and sanitary manner throughout the examination, and candidates must bring all items that are required to the examination site in order to be admitted. This does include, but not limited to, a photo ID, any admission dockets, as well as their supply kit, etc. Now, it is recommended that candidates arrive at the examination site dressed in a manner that will not inhibit nor distract from their examination experience. Their hair should be controlled and jewelry limited. Mannequins and supplies used in the examination are to arrive at the examination site clean and without odor. The heads used for hair services should not be a new head fresh out of the box. The hair should be cut. It should be conditioned and groomed in order to perform the task and the services that are listed on the candidate information bulletin. Candidates are also responsible to familiarize themselves with the equipment and supplies that they have before taking the practical exam. I realize a lot of students use a kit or rent a kit or purchase a kit, and many times they're not familiar with the equipment as well as the supplies in there. They need to take adequate time to be familiar with those supplies as well as the equipment. Candidates must not leave the examination area without permission. If a candidate experiences an emergency or needs to use the restroom, they must raise their hand to speak to the examination proctor. Certainly, there's no additional examination time given to a candidate for those circumstances. Examiners have been instructed not to answer any questions during the examination. This ensures equal opportunity for all candidates, and it assures standardization in the testing for the national practical examination. Proctors may only make the following statements when addressing candidate questions and situations. Do the best you can with what you have available, or do as you were taught. This is the NIC website, nictesting.org, and I would encourage you to go on to your state website, and that's Barbara Cosmo at dca.ca.gov.